Today we're going to talk a little bit about how to use a light meter to measure the value of multiple lights relative to each other. Now, when I'm lighting these videos, I'm actually doing this alone and I'm just shooting with a camera on a tripod. However, if I want to measure the values of the lights, I can do that with a light meter and then set the exposure of the camera, since I can never look at the back of the screen to see if it's actually correct while I'm shooting. However, if I use a light meter, I can ensure that I know what my exposure should be. So we're gonna take a look at how to use a light meter to measure your key light, your shadows, and your hair or separation light as well. Now, we're gonna start with the shadows, which means we're gonna start by turning all the lights off, which looks like this. Now, we're gonna start by taking our first reading with all the lights off except just the fill light from the windows in the studio. So I'm gonna place my meter where my face is and take my first reading, which is a 1/15 of a second at f3.2 with an ISO value of 400. Now, I want to add some separation, so I'm going to add a hair light. And so I'm going to take another meter reading of the light that's falling on my head to separate me from the background. And that's metering at about a 1/30th of a second at f3.2 for ISO 400. So it's a little bit above the ambient in the room, and so that gives me a little bit of separation and some control over the element of the background. And so I can separate my body like that. Now next we're going to turn on our key light, and when I turn this on, I'm actually going to turn the hair light off for a second so we can meter just that and we don't have spill coming in. So now we have the key light turned on and it's obviously much brighter. So I'm going to take another meter reading where my face is, and the light for this is now at about a 1/60th of a second at f3.2 for ISO 400. So I'm looking at the same aperture value and I'm just looking at the difference in time to give me an idea of how much light is there. So my key light is several stops above the hair light. So you'll see when I add the hair light, it changes and now there's some more balance in the image. Now I can add it all back together. You can see some separation on my hair, but it's not as bright as my key light. And this is what helps create those layers of texture and detail in the image. And that's how you can use a light meter to see the relative balance between your lights and know how to set your camera's exposure. Because even though I can't see this, I know that this is properly exposed. And that's how you'll be able to translate this concept to using flash with film cameras. This is just the building block of how it works. So I hope you'll continue to watch, and in a later video, we'll show you how to take the next steps with flash.